Hi, I'm Eddie Obeng, and this is How Daily. I bring you a new idea, a new concept, a new thing you can do, a new thing you can share with your colleagues, which is going to make your life fabulous. Okay. Today I've got one on something called innovation. I don't know whether you remember, but once upon a time that was a big thing. So let's jump on Cube, and I'm going to show you how to get your organizations moving again properly, rather than from big ideas and big dreams from the top, which go nowhere. So we're on Cube, and again, as you know, the sun is always shining on Cube. So let's have a look. So I've been following all the wonderful AI stories, and some of it's quite terrifying because there are statistics like some of the big AI agents, only 3% of people are paying for them, even though billions have been invested in both hardware, which is now obsolete, 6 months to get obsolete with chips, and software. And all around there's innovation going on, but it seems to be driven from the top of the organization. It seems like big innovation, and big innovation can work, but it might not be as effective as small innovation. So I thought I'd share this one with you and my journey around innovation. So let's jump in a bit closer. So I asked AI, of course, to make me a list of what had been the management fads for the past 20, 30 years. And some of them you'll recognize, like business process re-engineering here at the top, quality management, here's another one, knowledge management, and it tells you when they happened, the 2000s, the dot-com. So you can see that all these things come and go. So even our current obsession with AI and ERG and stuff, it just comes and goes. So do these things solve a problem which then goes away? In my very humble opinion, no. But I did get involved with a lot of organizations who were trying to work on how to manage innovation in their organizations. And the one which particularly springs to mind is an insurance company called Allianz, where I spent a fair amount of time with one of my good friends, Harvey Wade, and a couple of others who you might have come across. Trying to get innovation into the organization. When an organization asks for innovation, the headache is if the organization is well functioning, like that particular company was, then people are aligned at doing what they're doing. And once they're aligned at doing what they're doing, I call it the wildebeest are running, because everyone knows what they're doing, everyone's aligned to do it, and the wildebeest are running. And so if you want to innovate, all of a sudden you have a problem, because if the wildebeest are running and you suddenly go slightly to the left, then the other wildebeest knock you back into line. So being able to drive innovation is quite difficult from within. So the innovation can work when the organization says, we're all innovating, and the people at the front of the herd turn us to the left. But there's a challenge, because the people at the top who've got the power to turn us aren't necessarily always the people closest to the ideas or closest to the customer need. So sometimes they can end up with what's called push innovation, where an idea gets pushed out without actually knowing if anyone wants to receive it, AI. And so that type of innovation is what we call big I innovation. Well, what we needed to do was to be able to move the organization from within. So as a result of that, I started working on this whole concept of big and little I innovation. So the question is, how on earth in a massive, great big organization, it's supposed to have given you a triangle, life, eh? How on earth in a massive, great big organization does little you manage to move the whole organization? Well, it seems like they have to create a little safe cocoon. I won't call it safe cocoon because it's actually quite dangerous, because the wildebeest herd can trample over you. But the person in this cocoon has to be able to be connected with other people who can support them, has to be able to have a bit of gold, some resources, and then they can try and influence, and then they can talk up the story, and they can get momentum, and then the organization can move. And it's a safer way of trying to do things by innovating from within, and that's what's called little I. And so I built this particular pet just for that organization to help them be able to understand it. When you drive from the top, it's quite straightforward, because what you do is you can quite happily drive the process. Let me get a sticky. Sticky's always useful. With support and resources. If you want to trim from inside, you have to put aside money secretly to do that. I get people to learn Gap Leap, because if the people in the organization, that little green person, can put together a business case, Gap Leap is the pet, then they can persuade the senior people to give them the money. But it's also important, because if they get a good business case, they'll have success. And if they have success, then the little I innovation gets credibility. Then you also need to teach them how to set their own metrics and goals. So that's about getting them to be able to measure what success looks like. The pet is on balance, but really what you're looking at is how will this idea make a difference? And then you need to encourage them. If you watch my TED talk on smart and dumb failure, you give them permission to try stuff, and you have to give them the ability to know how to check their own work to make sure that what they're doing is a smart failure, not a dumb failure. In other words, not doing something badly, which should be done, but do something new and making sure they remove all the issues and making sure it still happens. Then it's really crucial to have the world after midnight customer focus bit. And then most of all, get those people to have confidence by teaching them how to preliminate issues. So if there's something they're worried about, they get rid of it in advance. It's called fix it now. So that's how you drive little I. If you only focus on big I, which is the fashion now, okay, you saw that list of fashions, which means that governments are trying to reinvent themselves, AI is trying to drive a process, all those big I things, they never really land because it's really difficult for senior, powerful people to do brand new and useful things. I've been Eddie Obeng. Thank you very much, and drive innovation from within, and let's try and create a world which we really want to live in the future. My newsletter, subscribe. Otherwise, have a great day. Talk soon.